Cultural transformation. And I'm going to talk about both of those things and how you actually knock it out. Now, both of these things actually take what I'll call a vision hypothesis. And a vision hypothesis is where you actually establish what you think your business is going to be in 10, 15 years. When I played golf with Bob, I said, this is what I think this business looks like in 10 years. I think 70% of the revenue is coming from outside of the company. I think you're in 100 languages, bunch of different currencies, bunch of different payment types. You have a platform that is scalable, that's OpenStack, that's distributed throughout public cloud and data centers, and your brand actually starts to square with who your users are and what they do. And so what I started to do was actually not just test it with Bob, who was like, okay, well, it's different than what I would do, but that's why we're hiring you. And I started actually talking to people I knew in the industry. People from Microsoft, people from Google, people from Yahoo, people from all over the tech industry in the Valley, and asking them, this is what I think this could be. Am I out of my mind? Because, honestly, if they're not seeing what I'm seeing, then I've got a problem. And the vision doesn't hold. The hypothesis is wrong. But I had enough affirmation from folks that said, okay, I actually believe in that vision. And I'm asking guys that are much smarter than me, much smarter and much more experienced, and saying, I think this could be a global platform for tiny businesses that scales globally, and we can turn this into something that's bigger than life. Where we take somebody who has an idea and we turn it into something that's a real business, and whether they want to make money and become big or they just want Fridays off, we can do that. What do you think? And I had enough people that said, I think that could make sense. Let's go knock that out. So while I was testing that vision hypothesis, I was actually also recruiting people to see if they thought that idea was powerful enough that they would join. Now, those are people that actually validated the reason that I was even going to go to the company. And I started talking to them before I accepted. And I started selling them simultaneously. I took the role, we announced the role, it was 5 years ago next month. And trying to get that slide. Then I started digging in deep. And really weird thing. So I joined the company, I started talking to people inside the company, doing the same vision hypothesis, testing it, and started asking people what they like about their company. What don't they like about the company? And the most important thing you can do as a leader, I think, when you're entering a new job is make it very safe for employees to give you wide open, honest feedback about whether they think what's happening in the company is good or bad. So I would ask them, what do you think's happening here? What do you like? What don't you like? And if I started sensing that they weren't listening and they weren't going to be actually candid with me and tell me what they thought was busted, I was going to start assailing things. So we had a couple, frankly, everybody, think back 5 years, everybody in the company had a time card. Everybody. I remember on a Friday afternoon, I'm about ready to fly home. I was living in California and working in Arizona, and the chief financial officer of the company, it's a $1 billion company, comes into my office and says, dude, you haven't signed my time card. I'm like, you're the chief financial officer of this company. You don't need a time card. Like, how many hours a week do you work? He goes, well, I don't know, 80, 60, 80, I don't know. It depends, whatever's happening. Sometimes not that much, but I'd be like, well, why the hell are you signing a time card for? He goes, well, everybody signs a time card. You just don't know if you can trust people to do the right thing and be honest. I go, well, are you honest? He goes, yeah, I'm honest. Well, why are you signing a time card? Because that's what we do. So I started actually assailing what the company was doing in a couple places to see if other people in the company would start open fire on some of the things that existed that they didn't like. And I'll say this. So if you think about culture for a minute in a company, it's like this little pyramid of crystal that people put on top of the table. Imagine there's a drape around the table. They go like, our culture's awesome. Look at this beautiful culture. We fight hard, we work together, we get all these amazing things done. Yeah, it's fantastic. They point to this thing. And then you go like, okay, is there anything you don't like? And then you start assailing, and then you pick up that little skirt that's around the table, and it turns out that pyramid goes all the way to the ground, And there's so much stuff that people don't like about their company that they won't tell you unless you make it safe. So I made it safe, and we just started eliminating all these different cultural things that were happening in the company. Some of which were things like doing the advertising that actually showed women in an unfavorable light. And they said, it makes me uncomfortable. I don't like doing that. So we started making a big flip in our advertising to show women the same way I talked to Bob about it. Said look, we're gonna show people as working hard. This is what they do. This is how they get it done. This is what we do for them. And by the way, we're gonna show women as, and by the way, 58% of small business around the world are run by women. Shouldn't we show them as small businesses and not as objects? And so we flipped the advertising really hard. And that was really kind of the easy part. Because there's a lot of other things you actually need to do culturally to make that more relevant for them. So the next step was actually going through a series of stories and talking to folks about what we wanted to get accomplished for women in tech. And I remember having an all-hands meeting inside the company. The women were very uncomfortable talking about what we had done externally. And I remember having a conversation saying, look, we don't have GoDaddy girls, which is what the industry called those commercials, those GoDaddy girls. I said, we have GoDaddy women, and you're it, and your accountants, and your coders, and your engineers, and your IT professionals. And that's how we're gonna honor you. And we're gonna make a ton of progress inside this company, not just from a business perspective, where we're gonna flatten a platform and go global. We're actually gonna change the culture and the external perception of what this company is, from advertising all the way through to what we do every day. One of the things you do when you're actually establishing that big notion of what you're gonna go do over the next decade or so is producing a vision that is bigger than life, that everybody can relate to, that women, that men, that your customers, that your investors can all get their heads around and try to make something very important happen. At GoDaddy, our vision is radically shifting the global economy towards life-fulfilling independent ventures. It could be a small business, it could be a nonprofit, it could be something that somebody wants to do that has meaning for them. And so, we went after this. We have actually, over the last 5 years, gone from $1 billion company to a $2.5 billion company. We went public 2.5 years ago. We've gone from a $2 billion valuation to almost a $9 billion valuation because we honored a culture. We allowed people to actually look at what they liked, what they didn't like, made adjustments inside the company, built what we thought was a great business transformation strategy and plan, took it from the United States, took it into 60 different countries globally, where 7 of the 17 million customers we have are now from outside the US. And we did it because people believed. People believed that both cultural transformation and business transformation could happen at the same time. Now, one of the things you have to do as a CEO or a leader in any role that you have in this room is become a beacon for change. And a beacon for change means business transformation, cultural transformation, and something that has to be incredibly personal to you that you can bring the rest of your employees on a ride with. You can actually take them with you. Now, for me, and it's something that's been very important to me, ironically, joining GoDaddy, was women in technology and actually forwarding their ability to become equals with men. We all know that there's a tech issue in Silicon Valley about equality, about salary equity, about promotion equity. And so I've actually poured myself into that as a big issue across not just our company, but in tech. Now, World Economic Forum says we're still about 170 years away from gender equality, which is true globally. In the Silicon Valley, we're a long way from it too, where we have much disparity between men and women, and in tech generally, whether you're in Silicon Valley or you are in Europe, or you're in South America, or you're in Eastern Europe. So why did this matter to me? So I had a sister. Yes, that's about the age I was when I was being dropped off at a golf course. That's my family. The little girl in the middle was my sister. She ended up as a very well-known professor who studied the effect of the media on women's body image and self-esteem and its likelihood to create bulimia or anorexia in young women. And Lori, who was incredibly passionate about advancing the state of women in media, actually had a tragic accident when she was 9 months pregnant, and we lost her and we lost her daughter. And my pledge to her was that I would do everything I can in my power, in my career, to advance the state of women. I'm a technical guy, I'm in tech, and so that's what I focused on, and thought that I would bring the rest of the company with me. And it aligns perfectly with changing the way that we view women in our advertising, changing the way women are actually managed or treated in tech or in other companies in a way that really makes a very large and real difference. That doesn't mean that it's just me. You bring people along with you. You get real representation inside of your company. We created something called GoDaddy Women in Technology, GD-WIT. This is Gail Jacoby, the president of GD-WIT. We have about 300 members across the company that actually are trying to make tech, not just GoDaddy, but tech a better place for women and a community for women. And then you get other folks that recruit other folks and advocate on your behalf. This is Maria Clawley, the president of Harvey Mudd University, who has 50% men and 50% women graduating from her computer science program. And I want to tell you, she and Tella Whitney of the Anita Borg Foundation have done amazing things to forward women in tech. And bringing those people along on a ride and actually having them say to you, you know, I don't know if GoDaddy's a good thing to go, just go, GoDaddy's a bad brand for women. I don't want to be associated with it. And then telling them what you're going to get done over the course of the next 5 years. And then having them believe you and being a beacon for them too. And saying, look, if we can actually change this company, we can do that across the industry. She's